Hello everyone. I would like to talk to you today about one of my favourite parts of Arc Raiders, which is the organic storytelling that occurs within the game, in its map, and with the various quests that you end up completing over the course of the game's story, air quotes. I think this is one of the strongest suits of the game. Definitely a point of interest in that they don't ever just explicitly tell you anything. They just leave a bunch of clues scattered about, and once you gathered up enough of them, you start to get a complete picture of what exactly happened in the past leading up to the current events. What happened during the first wave. One such mentionable thing is this. It's Ben Welder's sunroof. This is going to be the subject of the video. And the big question is, who is Ben Welder? Ben Welder's sunroof is in a little mechanic shop just off the main highway here between the Pale Apartments and the Ruby residence. You go there, you can find some mechanical equipment, a few rusted tools, but you'll also find a bunch of broken Arc components lying around. So there's a bunch of theories that could work as to who Ben Welder was. First and foremost, Ben Welder was, well, just the owner of a mechanic shop in the local area. His name was on the door or something. And Ben Welder's little mechanic shop just became a hot point for raiders because obviously it's situated where there's a hatch here, which you can use to safely get back to the tunnels and get back to Speranza. But the slightly more interesting idea would be that Ben Welder was some sort of notable raider in the early days. Presumably somebody that went out of their way to hunt down Arc in and around the local area, bring him back to the mechanic shop to salvage parts, maybe build new things. Maybe he was a sort of peddler or merchant that operated out of this little mechanic shop and supplied the early raiders with goods, weapons, grenades, whatever else they might need, based off parts he salvaged from dead Arc. But the third theory that I've got about who Ben Welder could have been is a little more complicated than that and a little more involved, and it's something that only comes into the picture if you go through the story quests and you pay attention to all the information that you get. Here I've got my MS Paint. This is beautiful reconstruction of Victory Ridge and the surrounding areas in the swamp. You can see all this on your map, of course, but here we are. It's just so I can draw on it, really, that I've done this. One of the things that we know in the story is that down here in these ruins, there was a EMP trap used to shut down Arc for a certain radius. And this was pivotal in the fight over Victory Ridge, the final battle of the first wave, supposedly. But we also know that this EMP trap has been used to block radio. Furthermore, we know that the raiders were situated here mostly upon this ridge and actually billeted here in Patton House in the back. We've had a quest there to go and get things for Tian Wen, get mementos from her mother who was billeted here. Furthermore, we understand that there are definitely signs of battle here and there. We have a lot of confirmed first wave Arcs that have been killed over at the old battlegrounds. They're all over the shop over there, as well as a massive Baron. There's a Baron over on the breach and another Baron further south of this area. There's more dead corpses lining the swamps. I think there's some here between the dome complex and where the EMP is. And I think you can even get a few up here on the main ridge where the battle would be. But most notably, down here at Ben Welder's sunroof, there's a little trench. And if you ever go to this trench, it will be littered with dead Arcs. And there'll even be a few scattered around the building. What all this information presents to us, when you put it all together, is that the final battle, the EMP would have been triggered to try and defuse the Arc as they overwhelmed or drove too far up and in to the battle lines. But this could have also caused radio interference and interfered with other electronics, such as the electronics of the hatch at Ben Welder's sunroof. Ergo, there could have been squads of people also billeted in Ruby Residence and the Pale Apartments back here, who were cut off from the main force back at the West Broken Ridge, at which point they would have had to defend themselves. Now, it's something of note that even though there are dead first wave Husks all over the map, I don't believe you can ever find one here in the back. This area is free of dead Husks, and yet Ben Welder's sunroof is surrounded by them, and even has a big trench out the front with several, I believe, Rocketeer corpses can be found there quite a bit. So what this tells me is that somebody fought here and essentially held off against any and all Ark that came in order to defend the area behind it. I imagine that the only reason such a fight would happen when there is an extraction point right here is that the EMP short-circuited the extraction point and caused the people who were beating a retreat this way to end up seeking shelter in the buildings on the ridge, while someone fought a vanguard action back here on the ridge to stave off the Ark. Now, in this version of events, Ben Welder would have been like some solo hero going through some action movie type stuff, ducking, diving and weaving, killing Rocketeers left, right and centre somehow. None of this is ever explicitly said. Hopefully, we'll never get any kind of concrete idea of who Ben Welder was or what happened, even though we got people who have first-hand ideas of how this is. I believe Celeste was fighting in the main group. But the fact of the matter is, Ben Welder could have been anybody, and yet we've got this massive battle here. I genuinely believe Ben Welder probably would have been some hero doing some last stand. Maybe he made a noble sacrifice back here that allowed other people to escape to safety. We'll never know, because it's never explicitly stated. And the only things I have to go on for this is a couple of quests that outline a few details of the battle here, as well as the loot locations of a bunch of old Ark corpses, and the fact that none of them make it past this point on the map. And this is what I quite like about Ark Raiders, is that it does tell you this indirect organic storytelling where you have to pay attention, put all the bits together yourself and cobble together a feasible narrative of events. Now, maybe I'm wrong about it, maybe there is some more concrete stuff. I've played through the entirety of the game's story, I've paid attention to it all. I've looked through the internet briefly before making this to see if anybody else has any idea about Ben Welder. Nothing there, nothing anywhere. So if there's something I've missed, let me know. But I think it's quite poignant that they've essentially inserted this name into the map, as it were, because if you look, nothing else has a name attached to it. Everything else is just a description of what it is or the title of a building, except for Ben Welder. And so this creates a mystery that you want to look into. Who was this man? What did he do? And then it's only by going through the storyline, exploring the map, and piecing everything together that you're able to come up with some sort of theory. Maybe I'm completely wrong. It doesn't matter if I'm wrong though, because the journey to trying to get some sort of answer for who Ben Welder is one that's just been planted organically in front of me by virtue of the maps. And this is great game design. It's really got me invested in the game, all these little mysteries, the different maps, be it the buried city, obviously Red Tower was some sort of headquarters or station, and then it's been blown up, and so there's another one built under the bridge somewhere. You'll all know it because it's a good loot spot. The point of the matter is, I really appreciate what they've done with the level design, the way that they've sort of crafted them in order to promote a story or an idea of everything that happened. I hope that you're all having a lovely day. Goodbye, good luck, and happy raiding. And never forget, you can be any kind of Ben Welder you want, so be the Ben Welder that Speranza deserves. See you all next time. Bye-bye now.